This is episode 33 of Give Me a Chance, and it is your host speaking, Vittoria. Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Give Me a Chance. Now that the days are turning darker and colder, what's better than snuggling up and listening to a new inspiring story this week? Well, this week we will listen to Waheed's story and we will learn how he got a chance to change his life after the 2008 recession hit him hard, and that changed the course of his life completely. Well, then all is settled to listen to Waheed's story. Hi Waheed, welcome to Give Me a Chance. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How is everything going with you and your book?
Everything is awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Today, I've been thinking about it. I'm excited about it. I cannot wait to. Actually, I vanished from the surface. Like I was out for a few months. Been working on it because I had to rewrite it, the book several times. But as of last week, as I mentioned, it's pretty much done. So now it's going to be coming out soon.
Is it your first book coming out?
This one is. I wasn't even planning on it, but with the situation, and I did find the time, and it just seems right at this time because we are going through sort of recession times, and it's something about that because this is something that affected my life as coming from, I was, born and raised in Pakistan, and then the cultural differences coming in and seeing something like that just impacted me so heavily that convinced me to come forward this time to write something which will help people, because when I was going through these events, I literally could not find someone who can assist me like the way I wanted. Like I couldn't get a grip of my things that were happening around. So the whole thing is about that as well as we go through it. So which is why I say I was like, it's going to be, I think it's just somehow it's coming out at the right time. I don't know how, but it is.
Yeah, we talked before about this, Waheed, and there have been a lot of moments in your life in which you had the possibility and the opportunity to change your life, and you also showed your strength in many events. But I think the episodes we're gonna focus in today are really relevant for what you're going to describe in your book later on. You were born in Pakistan and you lived there for many years, and then you moved to the US. How was your life like when you moved over?
In the beginning, the thing is, it was a cultural shock, but not in that sense. I had traveled to US before and I liked it. So I more came to look for myself. I've been on journey for years and years. I wouldn't even say it started here. It started very young when I was early on, went through some trauma in my life. And since then, I've been looking for things that happened. As I moved forward, it just kept on. The curiosity was there to see more, to experience more, and the feelings came. So when I came here, things were very different in the beginning. As for any immigrants, I think I was looking around like you come to a very advanced country from every angle. So land of opportunities, there's a reason for that, right?
True.
And then I was not happy. I studied engineering back home, but by the mid of my career, I wasn't 100% comfortable with it. I went to one of my mentors who mentioned that. I asked him, I was like, what should I do with my studies? I don't know where I'm going with it. So he's like, aren't you studying engineering? I'm like, I am. So he's like, well, why don't you get to the top of your career and then help people? Technically, whatever I do with myself, at the end of the day, the result should be solving a problem and helping people. So by the time I was in the final year, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Let me go out, come to US. So I started looking all around, for different kind of options. And somehow I knew someone who knew someone. So I ended up in the car business.
Okay.
And automobile business. So that's how it started. Back then, automobile business was highline industry was going up. And people called it luck. I don't know how I got there. I remember our finance manager had to go for some time. And I mentioned that in my book. I'm like, he had to go all of a sudden somewhere and they had no one to do anything. So I was the educated one. I used internet. So I'm like, let me have that opportunity. So the guy couldn't afford a real finance manager. He's like, okay, you got 1 month. If you can show me what you can do, you got it, right?
And did you?
This is how the whole thing started. So I practiced so much within that month. I barely slept. I just sat down on this. It was just a system. Like for me, it was easy because I'd done something like that. So I kept on practicing it. And then it was crazy because I got really good at it. But I didn't feel comfortable. I was like, there's something about it that I don't really like. So I wanted to try financing for the sales side of it. I'm like, let me go out and, something, try that. And that just came so natural to me that I will spend 16 hours a day at work because I just love talking to people, meeting people. And I never sold anything in my life, but they bought cars left and right. So my career just took off. But in between somewhere there, I got lost.
And tell me more about it, because indeed the golden period in which you were going through, which years were they?
So this was 5 years. I went straight and basically my career took off up and up and up. And then all of a sudden you see the 2008, 2009 recession, that started happening. So now I'm running here on my career at the peak and I'm thinking about taking the next move. And here the rug from underneath it just starts slipping. And I'm like, what is going on?
And then out of the blue, everything started collapsing, as you just said. How was that, in a way, for you, the most determining event that changed your life?
See, I went into depression after that. I went through a lot of traumatic events. We used to party, and then what I started doing I didn't realize I was going in depression because I started losing money. We were losing business. I saw businesses around me closing down. There weren't any jobs available. When we will apply for the job, people would not hire us because they would be like, you know what, you are overqualified. And then those jobs will not keep you because they're like, the moment you're going to find a better job, you're going to leave. And we couldn't lie anything about our personality that, this is what the experience we had. So it was very tough for all of us. We lost pretty much whatever we made in this 6-7 years. What happens is, what I realized, we humans have something, we destroy ourselves faster than anyone else can. So me not realizing that this is just a small event of a dot in my life, I started hating myself. I started drinking more. I started not doing, I just got disheartened. The entire cycle started of depression, which basically it was tragic. So, and when I looked around, people were going through the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds as if you really internalized and put it on yourself, the fact that external events were collapsing the society as you knew. But what happened at the lowest point of?
Well, I thought that I was going to die. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I looked one day, I was sitting in I pretty much left the country. I got in trouble with the law for some traffic tickets and stuff. I got scared because I'd never been in that position before. So I'm like, you know what? No one likes me. I'm just going to take my stuff and I'm going to leave the country. I was in a bad relationship. I was abused there as well, really bad. So
you went back to Pakistan then?
Yeah, I went back to Pakistan. I was like, I'm never coming back. I kind of took everything. I left my stuff here. I'm like, you know what? You guys can have it. So pretty much that's where I was so down that I was like, I didn't want to come back here. I'm like, whatever,
And indeed, if that is the lowest point you have ever reached, I mean, everything you knew was gone. How did you find the strength and what did you do to react to the situation?
Well, it took me a long time. For the 2 years, I didn't even know where to start from because thing is, for 2 years, I did not even it's not that I didn't know, I tried it, but the things were so slow. So it was so down that I would say that I was almost I gave up pretty much. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to start over a new life. So that was it. But staying there for some time, I could not see myself in the mirror. So that was the biggest thing that I just couldn't look at myself. I'm like, I can't believe that I gave up. I can't, how am I going to see ever myself? What am I going to, how am I going to face myself? Because you can lie to everyone else, but not to yourself. I was scared. I was terrified. I was like, I have to go through the whole process. Right now, I can hide behind the law that, listen, they were unfair to me. Economy was bad. But if I go back and I can't fix things, then I'm going to be labeled. It is the situation where we start thinking about people too much. We start hating ourselves too much, So like I said, I was in someone else's race, which I never thought. So what I came up with, the model, which is the book is about, is called disconnect, reevaluate, and reconnect. That's the model that's going to give you. So basically what we do, we disconnect ourselves completely out of the situation. Let's suppose we were never there. I was never in this country. We take it, and then it's about the bird's eye view of life. That's the title of the book. I'm just releasing it here. So you have to see everything from the above. So you can see that this thing is just a dot in your life. So it took me a long time to figure that out. Like, how can I fix it?
Yeah.
When I came up, because I have good imagination, somehow this idea clicked. And, one of my mentor, I remember that was one of the most important words that ever, that helped me go through this, because we were sitting down and he had encouraged me before too. So I told him the situation. I'm like, this is what happened. So he looks at me, he's like, you know what? He's like, in a man's life, 3 to 4 years is nothing, as long as he finds the right direction. And because we cannot disconnect from the situation, we consistently running. If we only stop and give ourselves that moment, that time to think about it, to actually see the whole thing from above, we may be able to take a better decision. We can come out of it, right? So that's the whole point of disconnecting. And then you're evaluating the situation anyhow, but then you reevaluate the same thing from a third point of view. So that's exactly what I did. I disconnected. I talked to myself. I'm like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to face it.
And the fact that you decided to get in control of the situation, that's basically what you did. You took the reins again of the situation, didn't accept to just react, which was the path that in the end you decided after reconnecting to your environment.
I took the responsibility. I was like, irrelevant of whose fault it is, if it's my fault or not, irrelevant of that. I am the one who's going to fix it. At some point, like, I kept on using the same thing. I was like, no, I cannot do that. I was like, it's going to take me long, but I'm going to fix it no matter. And I'm going to fall so many times. I'm going to have humiliation. Now, this is a very tough situation, because saying is one thing and doing is another, but you have to still consider that in your mind. And like I said, I come from a good family. I had good education. We had things like that. So for me, like, it was just something. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to face my family. Like, forget about my friends. Like, my family, they're going to laugh at me for the rest of their life. They're like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? When I got back here, I had to take care of my charges. And like, that's the first thing I do. So like, I was in jail for some time for those charges. And that was very humiliating. The concept of this is like, I had to stick to my plan. Like, when I got out, I knew that this is my plan. I need to get back to the top, and I'm going to decide when I leave. I was like, no one is going to put me in a situation where they force. I'm like, I'm going to get back to the top. I'm going to do it no matter what it takes. And then I'm going to decide what I want to do with my life. I'm like, I'm not going to let people dictate it. I'm not going to throw my excuses. I'm not going to hide behind liquor. I'm not going to hide behind my child thing. That is the bottom line to any of these things. Once we take the responsibility of something, that we are the one who's going to fix it, then things starts getting fixed.
Indeed, the fact that you took responsibility was probably your chance to change your life and put it back on track. And where did it lead into?
I got out and I wanted to show it one more time at one of my old colleagues. I worked with him before. We all lost the business together. So he had an opportunity at the right time. Again, I got lucky. I don't know how. I come out and he had an opportunity, right? So I picked up the thing, and this time it took me about 7 years, and we literally turned into a small business. I was a co-founder. We turned it into one of the top ranking dealerships in the country. I became one of the top salesperson in the country as well for the Highline, over several hundred reviews to my name. Then I did branding for the company that people weren't doing at the time. So I established that over 6 to 7 years. And then when the pandemic hit, like, the company benefited a lot because everyone could find you. So there was a lot more. It was a second phase, but a lot of things have changed. This time I didn't chase money.
What do you chase?
This time it was basically, by this time I figured out there's something about me that I can help people and solve problems. So this time I solved problem. I took a lot of lectures from mentors and one of this about businesses as well. And at the bottom of that was empathy, kindness, value, compassion, give. And do not, like, just be transparent about your transaction. That's the core of the business. If you can do that, it's a long-term success. So it took us 5 to 7 years, but the profit turned exponential. Everything went well. People spend 7 years, 10 years in their career, and then all of a sudden they get fired or they get laid off. They don't know what to do with it. They have all this experience, friends. No one wants to hire you. You have to start over again. Humiliation is there. You can't take a lower job. There's so many different aspects to this. So I want to talk to them. I want to tell them, I was like, listen, it's okay. If you're going to live 100 years, 5, 10 years, doesn't matter. 20 years doesn't matter. 30 years doesn't matter. Start over again and again. and again and again. Have 50 careers. Who cares, man? It's your life. Live it. Live every single minute of it. Even the last 5 minutes, do something with it. Yeah. So the whole message in the thing is, so I decided to go into this message and talk about more that let's not give up. Things are going to happen. This is not the first time, and it's not going to be the last time. It's going to happen again and again and again. And I know that, it for everyone is different, but pain somehow, while we go through pain, it also allows us, like, it gives us this feeling that it gives us this vision that we don't have. So anytime we lose something in this process, we also gain something. So our shift should be towards what are we gaining for losing this, then versus crying about what we lost and then not making anything out of it, and then ending up giving up on ourselves and not doing anything about it. It's like, it's not worth it.
So with this, I wanted to thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Ved. I really, really hope, and have these fellows like boys. I will say that again, never give up. Just keep going. Keep going. Never, 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 never give up.
This was Waheed's story. Waheed left Pakistan to live the American dream, and although he had become really successful in his job, the 2008 recession hit him hard. That meant that he lost his job, he fell into a pattern of self-destruction, and he even decided to leave the country not to face the situation. But it was only when Waheed decided to take responsibility for his action that he managed to overcome his situation and stood up straight. Waheed is now an entrepreneur and is publishing his first book in a few weeks. This was the end of this episode. Have you ever had the chance to change your life, or do you know anybody who has? Please get in touch with us and leave a comment here below. And if you have enjoyed this episode, do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and see you next time. Give me a chance, on your screen and in your ears.